Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Today my presentation title is Silage and Hay for Sustainable Dairy Farming. So let's proceed to the presentation. If we go through the Indian status about milk production and dairy farming, India is ranking world's largest producer of milk, but as milk productivity is concerned, it is far below compared to global averages. And the reason behind it, poor nutrition and improper management, which are responsible to lower down the productivity. The deficit of green fodder and its non-availability for the animals is one of the concern, and major inavailability during summer months is one of the big tasks. In order to bridge the gap between the demand and supply of cattle feed, alternate options for green and dry fodder needs to be discovered. If we go through the livestock population as per data 2019, cattle is containing around 36% of total livestock population of our country, and buffaloes are around 20.45. So cattle and buffaloes are contributing major to the milk production. If we go through another livestock population like sheep, which is having the contribution of around 14%, and goats around 28%, and piggery is contributing around 1.7%, and others are 0.23%. Here to study the importance of animal nutrition for dairy farming as sustainable growth is concerned. As we know that India is ranking first as milk production is concerned globally, but milk productivity is very low compared to global milk productivity. So there is need of attention to improve the productivity by supplying the nutritive animal feed to the cattle and other animals which are very important for dairy farming. There is need to demonstrate quality silage and hay making practices to growers, and consolidated industry efforts are required while encouraging sustainable dairy farming practices. The focus should be given to nutrient management, mechanized harvesting, chopping of the material while preparation of silage and hay, and there should be awareness programs for the farmers and other processors as silage baling techniques are concerned. Silage and hay are the dry produce of forage and fodder which are very important for the animal nutrition. First we will study about silage. Forages fed as silage remains popular for dairy farms because they minimize loss of nutrients from harvest through storage, allow for easier feeding, and often allow greater efficiency and timeliness of feed mixing and handling on farm than dry forages. The goal of silage production is to minimize biological degradation and conserve digestible nutrients which can be efficient and nutritive to the animals. To meet this requirement, oxygen must be eliminated and silage acidity must increase rapidly so that lactic acid bacteria grow and stabilize the silage produce. Now hay is a refuge and that is usually far from a complete feed. Means it is not recommended as a complete feed for animal nutrition. Even from high potential crops with modern machinery, the resultant hay is often inadequate to provide a production diet for cattle. Only some legume hays can provide enough protein to supplement like alfalfa hay. Then others. High quality legume hays made in dry warm climates are usually of high feeding value, but grass hay in more humid climates and from tropical herbage are of lower quality. Astrage and astrovers are of course much poorer feeds hay. It follows therefore that this dried fodder should be part of a feeding system rather than using alone. Dried form of forages include the plant materials like silage, hay and haylage, about which we will study in details. Now to study in details about silage. Silage is preserved fodder obtained from the anaerobic fermentation of green fodder. Cereal fodder crops rich in carbohydrates make good silage. About 5 to 1000 tons of green fodder can be preserved as silage in surface silo. So we will study in details about silage quality, silage production and crops suitable for silage. What is silage? Silage is chopped plant material that has been fermented and preserved. Silage is fermented, which helps to overcome the challenge of green fodder availability, and silage helps to improve digestion of animals, and it supports improved milk production throughout the year. As a homegrown food source, silage is a cost-effective method for animal nutrition production and sustainable way to provide healthy nutrition to cattle. Silage contains most of the ground plant parts, including leaves, stem and heads, which are above ground plant parts. Silage usually contains 60 to 70% moisture. The high moisture level leads to fermentation during storage. Fermentation produces acids that prevent spoilage of the silage, and silage is stored in silage. Most silage is made from green crops such as corn and grasses. As silage production is concerned, corn silage is one of them to overcome the challenge of quality fodder availability for cattle. For silage preparation, high-yielding corn hybrids with better digestibility and quality nutrients are an excellent option. Hybrid corn commercial crop gaining popularity for silage production, and the use of silage is gaining popularity across Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat and other states. There are various crops which are suitable for silage preparation. Silage can be made from all winter and summer fodders. To prepare best quality silage, cereal green fodder crops like green fodder maize, fodder sorghum, bajra, hybrid napier, sugarcane top leaves, oat, marble, etc. are best suited crops. Crops with broad leaves and thick stems are best suited for silage preparation, and preference is given to cereal green fodder which are monocotyledons, and that is due to its more sugar content than protein, as sugar is utilized in fermentation process to make lactic acid by microorganisms. These cereal fodder crops have hard stem, which takes more time for drying in making hay of these crops. So it is better to use these kinds of crops for making silage than hay. Leguminous and non-leguminous crops are mixed together to make best silage, because leguminous fodder has less carbohydrate and protein content. Therefore, usually these are mixed with non-leguminous fodder. Furthermore, if moisture content is high in fodder, wheat straw or crushed cobs of maize can be added for the silage preparation. Now silage making process. For silage preparation, first there should be harvesting of crop. Harvesting of crop should be done at 30 to 35% dry matter stage. Chopping of crops in small sized pieces should be done, which are having the size of 2 to 3 centimeters parts. And the chopped material should be filled into silage. And pressing of green fodder either manually or mechanically is done to create anaerobic condition. Sealing of silage with a polyethylene sheet and cover with soil is preferred, leaving it for minimum 45 days to complete the process of anaerobic fermentation. After that, silage will be ready to feed animals. If you will see, the maize, sorghum, bajra, etc. are more suitable for silage making process compared to haymaking. Here to study the steps for making good silage. There are various steps involved from beginning to end, and each step is very important and it should be followed as per the requirement. First one is appropriate harvest time of the produce. We have to avoid bad weather at the time of harvest and especially rainy days. In rainy days, if it will be done, the crop will be too wet and it will be difficult to complete the whole operation of harvesting of crop, felling and sealing of silage. Second is assessment of quality needed to harvest to prepare silage. We have to assess the quantity of crop to be harvested to prepare the silage. The quantity of harvested crop will depend upon the number and kinds of animal to be fed, the length of feeding period. The number and size of silage pits have to be regularized accordingly so that there can be a regular supply of feed, particularly during lean months. Third step is inspection of silage conditions. We check the condition of silage which will be used for silage preparation. The walls must prevent the entrance of air and the doors in case of tower silage, and it must fit snugly. If air enters, molds will grow and spoil the silage. The silo walls must be smooth, perpendicular, strong and rigid. If the walls are not smooth and perpendicular, cavities will form along and the walls as the mass settles and the adjacent silage will get spoiled. The walls must be strong and rigid to withstand the outward pressure on walls exerted by the silage when it settles. Fourth step is growth stage of the crop while harvest. The crop should be neither dry nor have high water content. In the former case, it will not pack well in the silage, and in the latter case, the silage is appropriate to be very sour or it may even spoil. For preparing good silage, forage crop with solid stems should be selected so that only a small amount of air will remain in the mass after it has settled. If hollow stemmed crops are used, the cut forage must be trampled with special care to force out as much air as possible. The type of crop affects the quality, but the condition of crop affects the quality even more. Fifth step is assessment of need of pre-wilt of forage. The practice of wilting the crop in the field for a few hours before ensealing is valuable for young succulent grass or legumes. The moisture content should not be more than 70 to 75%. It encourages butyric acid type of fermentation. Further, the amount of liquid effluent from the silage is reduced. Next step is chopping of the crop. We have to chop the crop if needed. For proper consolidation, the crop should be chopped into short lengths before ensealing. When chopped, the proportion of the material immediately available for bacterial fermentation is much, and consequently acid production occurs much more rapidly. Chopped pieces should not exceed 4 to 5 cm length while cutting. Seventh step is mixing of legumes and non-legumes forage crops ahead. We have to decide mixtures of legumes and other forage crops ahead before preparation of silage. Good silage can be made from a mixture of legumes such as alfalfa or soybean with a suitable proportion of green corn or sorghum, maize and cowpea mixture, paddy straw with berseem etc., which may contain much more sugar. The mixture can be done in the ratio of like sorghum and alfalfa by ratio of 1:3. If we are mixing paddy straw and berseem, it may be ratio of 1:5. And if paddy straw and water hyanthus, then it should be 1:4. If we are mixing maize and cowpea, the ratio can be done 1:3. Next step is addition of molasses, salt, etc. Addition of molasses to leguminous forage crops improves the quality of silage, and salt adds to the silage. Ninth step is proper filling of silage. To ensure good silage, it is very essential that the chopped material is distributed uniformly throughout the silage. The material should be trampled, especially well near the wall, as the friction with the wall retards settling. It is believed that keeping the center higher than the outside while filling the upper part of the silage lessens the tendency of the silage to draw away from the walls as it settles. To avoid a large spoilage at the top, for the last few meters the silage should be leveled off and trampled thoroughly. It will be better if leveling, trampling, addition of additives, etc. are done after every 30 cm layer of packing. Next step is proper covering and sealing of silo. Once the pits is full, it should be covered with wet straw, sawdust or other materials and plastered with 15 to 30 cm thick layer of soil. The loss at the surface can be reduced to a minimum if the forage is covered after it is leveled and well trampled with cheap roll roofing like polythene, and the joints being left about 10 cm and the ends turned up against the side wall to 13 cm. After covering, weights such as paving slabs, concrete posts, concrete cylinders and wooden logs should be kept for better compression. And finally, a thatch of straw, reeds or bracken should be added whenever possible, and if not, a simple roof of some kind should be devised to keep off the rain as a rain protection. And the next step is inspection of silage intermediately. It is advantageous to check the seal from time to time, flatten it down and seal any cracks. There should be a small door near the surface of the silage to allow the carbon dioxide to escape. Very rarely, poisonous yellow nitrogen dioxide gas is found in silage soon after filling the silo and apparently being produced from nitrate in the forage. Silage making means preservation of chaffed cereal grain fodder in anaerobic condition by way of fermentation method. In anaerobic condition, where there is no air inside peat tank or silo, with the help of microorganisms, sugar contained in green fodder is converted into lactic acid, which help to preserve the green fodder for longer duration. Respiratory function of living cells present in green chaffed fodder utilizes oxygen in airtight condition and releases water and carbon dioxide in closed environment in peat tank or silage. Due to carbon dioxide releases in peat tank, air inside is expelled outside as well as organisms which depend on oxygen like bacteria and fungi, which can't withstand in carbon dioxide atmosphere inside. These effects into preservation of chaffed green fodder in silage peat tank as silage for longer duration like 6 months or maximum a year if good care is taken. Now we will go through advantages of silage making. Silage can be prepared from green fodders when weather doesn't permit haymaking or dry fodder. Silage can be prepared from plants which have thick stems and normally not suitable for haymaking, like sorghum and maize. Weeds can be used along with major crops for insealing, and the process also destroys weed seeds. It is highly palatable to cattle and buffaloes. Stemmy forage crops, when converted into silage, become soft, and these are better utilized by the stock. The use of silage generally makes it possible to keep more animals on a certain area of land. At a low expenses, silage furnishes high quality succulent feed for any season of the year for the nutritive value of the animals which are related to dairy farming. From wheat crops, which would make poor hay, satisfactory silage can be produced. The insealing process kills many kinds of weed seeds. Crops from a given area can be stored in less space as silage compared to dry fodder. Silage contains 230 kg of dry matter per cubic meter area, where hay requires 66 kg only in per cubic meter area. So there is a specification benefits while storage. Many undesirable things present in fresh crops are eliminated by insealing during silage making process. Now we will study in details about characteristics of silage. Silage quality is a measure of insealing process, the amount of nutrient loss, and relative palatability. We will go through various properties of silage. Like first one is color. Color is an important index of quality. A good silage should be of faint green, yellowish green or brownish green color. Dark brown or charred black material often found is usually the result of excessive heating, poor packing, and sealing too low moisture content. If the moisture content is too high, the silage usually appears deep green to black, and mold formation occurs in presence of air. Second characteristic is odor and texture. Good silage is of sweet and sour taste. Good silage doesn't have a strong or objectionable odor. It is palatable to livestock. However, it should be fed carefully to meat cow to prevent of flavor in milk. A strong butyric acid, ammonia or musty odor indicates a considerable loss in feed value. Silage of this type should be avoided if possible. Very wet silage usually having a strong odor indicating inferior quality. The addition of preservatives or careful wilting may ensure proper fermentation and a more desirable odor. Silage containing stubbles and foreign matter or fodder cut at too late a stage will naturally be less palatable and nutritious to the animals. Third characteristic is degree of wetness. Silage having moisture content 75% or above contains less feed value per kilogram than silage having low moisture. This may be due to the loss of nutrients through seepage. If juices runs freely when silage is squeezed in the hand, it indicates that the material has high moisture content. Next characteristic is chemical properties. The chemical composition of silage depends upon types of crop, methods of insealing and compaction, etc. The quality of the silage is more readily assessed by determining its pH value, which should be less than 4.2 and generally ranges in between 3.5 to 4.2. With this degree of acidity, there is almost invariably more lactic acid 3 to 30% of the dry matter and volatile acids and butyric acid, and it's present only in traces. The butyric acid concentration of good silage is less than 0.2% and the ammonical nitrogen content less than 11% of the total nitrogen. Second dried form of forage is hay. What is hay? Hay refers to grasses or legumes that are harvested, dried and stored at 85 to 90% dry matter. Hay is green plant material that has been cut and dried for use as livestock feed. Hay is an economical source of nutrients in livestock feed. Excessive moisture can also cause the hay to rot. Handling hay can be made easier by baling the hay in square or round bales depending on the equipment available and the need of the producer. Now to focus on haymaking. Haymaking is the process of preservation of green fodder by drying process. Haymaking involves the cutting, curing and storing of high quality nutritious feed. Hay which is green, fine stemmed, free of weeds and cut before it reaches full maturity makes the best quality hay. Fodder crop is harvested before maturity when there is 50% flowering stage, when it is still green. The crop is spread over a place in rows and then put on hay racks for further drying under sun. The fodder crop has to be given turning from time to time and should not be exposed to severe sunshine to avoid decarotinization. The non-leguminous crop should be harvested after flowering stage and when 50% fluorescence is available. In case of leguminous crop, the harvesting should be done just when the flowering starts. So harvesting plays an important role as haymaking is concerned. For haymaking, hay should be cut at the growth or bloom stage of the plant because cutting at this time will ensure the highest quality hay, and some plants may produce many hay cuttings per growing season. Maize and barley crops are not suitable for haymaking. Green oat is the best crop suitable for haymaking, and cereal grains are also used to make hay. Most forage grasses and forage legumes can be used for hay preparation, and hay can be a mixture of legumes and grasses or maybe pure. Annual and perennial grasses like Sanadon, Declon, Doob, Anjan grass can be also used to form good hay. Leguminous fodder like green berseem, lucerne, cowpea, guar, natural grasses can also be used for haymaking if proper care is taken in curing, whereby shattering of leaves is avoided. Characteristics of a good hay. Good hay must keep the characteristics of green color of the crop, and it should be soft and pliable. It should be prepared in such a way that there is less loss of leaves due to shattering and maximum amount of green color is retained by the haymaking process. The hay should be free from dust, mold and bad odor, and the aroma of the finished product should be such that it is relished by the animals. Hay should not have more than 15% of moisture so that it can be safely stored without risk of fermentation and combustion. Another dry form of forage is haylage. Haylage is silage that contains less than 50% of moisture, and its production is similar to that of silage, except it is harvested later than silage and less moisture is added. Haylage is a replacement for hay, and grasses grown and cut in the same way as for hay but left to dry for less time, approximately 30 to 40% moisture. Bales are wrapped straight after baling and compressed to approximately 2/3 of its original size. Natural fermentation preserves the grasses as haylage, which is around 90% feed value of grasses. Haylage can be thought of as highly nutritive hay and without dust and spores. And there is another haylage, horse haylage, which is not the same as silage. Silage is a fermented high moisture feed and usually not suitable for horses. So in that cases, horse haylage is used to feed them. Now qualities of haylage. Haylage is a very good source of fiber, and fiber is vital for the movement of food along the digestive systems. Haylage is fit for horses. Horses are designed for browsing, eating little but often, therefore slowly chewing haylage is more desirable than a bucket of hard feed eaten in a couple of minutes. Feeding haylage can provide as much energy and protein as a hard feed, therefore saving money and being much kinder to the digestive system. And there is replacing some or all hard feed with good quality haylage for horses could also help reduce boredom in the stable. To avoid respiratory problems in future or aid in managing a current respiratory diseases, haylage is very important, and it replaces the need for soaking hay, especially when water might freeze and haylage needs no soaking. So this presentation was all about silage and hay for sustainable dairy farming as animal nutrition is concerned for milk animals. Hope this will be very useful to all of you. Thank you very much. I have given here my YouTube channel details, Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Having request, visit the channel, subscribe it and provide your kind and valuable feedback. Thank you.